We all want connection, we crave it. But strong relationships aren't built by luck, they're built by skill, emotional skill. And the first one, self-awareness. You cannot connect with someone else if you're disconnected from yourself. If you don't understand why you get triggered, why you shut down, or why you push people away, then love becomes a guessing game. And people don't stay in games they're constantly losing. The second skill is empathy. We think listening is just hearing the words. It's not. It's about feeling the emotion behind the words. It's pausing your judgment. It's saying, help me understand, not fix you. In moments of tension, empathy is the tool that transforms defense into understanding. Third, vulnerability. We've been told to be strong. But strength is not about hiding how we feel. It's the courage to say, I'm scared, I'm not okay, or I love you first. You can't build real intimacy behind emotional armor. Vulnerability is the invitation that says, you can see me now. Self-awareness is the foundation of connection. Without it, we're navigating love with a blindfold on, reacting instead of responding, projecting instead of reflecting. So many of the patterns we bring into our relationships were formed long before we met our partner, and yet we expect love to feel effortless, seamless, uncomplicated. But here's the truth, if we don't understand ourselves, we can't possibly offer understanding to someone else. Self-awareness is not just knowing what you like or dislike. It's about understanding always and why you feel what you feel. It's about recognizing the emotional fingerprints you carry from childhood, from past relationships, from every moment that shaped your view of intimacy and trust. When you get triggered, when you feel abandoned, dismissed, criticized, do you pause and ask, what part of me is hurting right now? Or do you automatically lash out, shut down, or pull away? Most of us are running patterns on autopilot. We repeat the same arguments. We attract the same types of people. We end up in the same emotional spaces, wondering why love feels heavy or hard. But it's not love that's broken. It's that we haven't slowed down long enough to observe ourselves in the mirror of a relationship. Because that's what love does. It reveals you. A relationship is not just about getting to know someone else. It's a mirror that reflects your insecurities, your blind spots, your growth edges. And that reflection can either scare you or grow you. Self-awareness is the difference. Think about it. When you're aware of your emotional triggers, you don't need your partner to walk on eggshells. When you're in tune with your needs, you communicate them clearly instead of expecting someone to read your mind. When you recognize your own defensive walls, you can take them down consciously instead of pretending you're fine, while resentment builds underneath. Self-awareness allows you to take ownership instead of placing blame. It shifts your mindset from, why are they doing this to me, to, what is this bringing up in me? A relationship between two people who are not self-aware quickly becomes a battlefield. Misunderstandings escalate, small things become big, and emotional wounds keep getting reopened. But when at least one person in the relationship is deeply self-aware, it creates space for clarity, compassion, and healthy communication. You're able to say, I know this is my issue, but I want to share it with you so you understand where I'm coming from. That level of emotional honesty is magnetic. It builds trust. It disarms defensiveness. It brings two people closer, even in moments of tension. Self-awareness also helps you stay grounded in your values. You don't lose yourself in love because you're anchored in who you are. You're able to hold boundaries with kindness. You don't overextend to keep the peace because you know peace within yourself is just as important. You don't manipulate to feel secure because you've learned to soothe rather than control. And you don't abandon your truth to be chosen because self-awareness teaches you how to choose yourself first in the healthiest way possible. The more you know yourself, the better you love. You become less reactive, more intentional, less afraid of conflict, more curious about resolution, less focused on being right, more focused on being real. And most importantly, you create a relationship where emotional safety is not just desired, it's built moment by moment through the courage of looking inward. Because at the end of the day, you can't build lasting connection if you don't first connect to your own heart. Self-awareness doesn't just improve your relationships, it transforms them. Empathy is the bridge between two hearts. It's not just a feeling, it's a choice to step outside of your world and into someone else's, even when you don't fully understand it. In a relationship, Empathy is what allows two very different people to meet in the middle without losing themselves. It's the quiet voice that says, I may not have lived what you're living, but I'm here with you in it. Most of the time, we listen to respond, not to understand. We wait for our turn to talk. We jump to defend, correct, or fix. But empathy is different. Empathy pauses, it softens, it listens beyond the words. It leans in with the intent to feel what the other person is feeling, not to judge it or compare it, but to witness it. That act alone creates safety, and safety is the oxygen of love. When someone shares their pain or vulnerability with us, we have a choice. We can minimize it, rationalize it, or shift the focus back to ourselves. Or we can honor it. We can say, that must be really hard, even if it wouldn't have been hard for us. Because empathy isn't about agreeing with someone's experience. It's about acknowledging that their experience is real to them. And in relationships, that validation is often more healing than any solution we can offer. Empathy also requires us to let go of the need to be right. In the heat of an argument, our first instinct is often to prove our perspective. But empathy asks, can I understand where they're coming from, even if I see it differently? It's the ability to sit in discomfort without shutting down. To stay present without trying to escape. To say, tell me more, instead of, that doesn't make sense. When two people practice empathy, they stop seeing each other as the enemy. They start seeing each other as human, flawed, feeling, trying. There's a powerful shift that happens when we feel seen and heard. Defensiveness drops. Walls begin to crumble. Trust grows. And the truth is, most people in relationships aren't asking for someone to fix their problems. They're asking for someone to sit with them in their feelings. Empathy says, I'm not afraid of your sadness, your anger, or your fear. I won't run from it. I'll meet you there. That meeting place becomes the bridge between hearts. Empathy also transforms how we show up in small, everyday moments. It's in remembering what your partner said stressed them out that morning and checking in later with kindness. It's in noticing their silence and asking if they need space or support. It's in understanding that sometimes their bad mood isn't about you. It's about something deeper. And what they need is compassion, not correction. And perhaps most importantly, empathy must extend to ourselves. Because when we are harsh with our own feelings, we're more likely to be harsh with someone else's. But when we practice self-compassion, when we treat our own pain with tenderness, we build the capacity to do the same for our partner. We stop viewing emotions as weaknesses and start seeing them as invitations for connection. At its core, empathy is an act of love. It's the decision to be soft in a world that hardens people. It's the courage to connect, even when it's uncomfortable. It's the humility to say, I don't fully understand, but I'm here anyway. Relationships don't thrive on logic alone, they thrive on feeling felt. And empathy is what makes that possible. It's the thread that weaves two hearts into one shared understanding again and again. Vulnerability is strength, not weakness. In fact, it may be the most courageous thing you ever bring into a relationship, because vulnerability is not about falling apart, it's about showing up. It's choosing to let someone see the parts of you that are still healing, still learning, still afraid. And that act takes far more strength than pretending to have it all together. We live in a world that teaches us to guard our hearts, to act like we're unbothered, to avoid needing anyone. We think strength means independence, detachment, control. But true strength in love is the willingness to be seen, known, and even rejected, and still show up anyway. Vulnerability is saying, here's my truth. Here's what scares me. Here's what I long for. Will you hold it with care? Many people fear that being vulnerable makes them look weak or unstable. But what really weakens relationships is hiding. When we hide our fears, our insecurities, our needs, we rob the other person of the chance to love us as we are. We end up being loved for a version of ourselves that isn't true. And that kind of love never feels safe. It feels conditional, exhausting, and ultimately empty. Vulnerability is how intimacy is built. Not the surface kind of intimacy that comes from spending time together, but the deep emotional kind that creates lasting bonds. When you open up and say, I'm struggling, I miss you, or I need reassurance, you invite closeness. You stop performing and start relating. You give someone the chance to say, I see you, and I'm still here. That is the heart of secure connection. Of course, vulnerability is risky. Not everyone will handle it with respect. Not everyone deserves access to the tender parts of you, but in a relationship built on trust, vulnerability doesn't break connection. It deepens it. It turns ordinary conversations into meaningful moments. It transforms conflict into opportunity. It allows love to breathe, to move, to grow. Many couples live behind emotional walls. They talk about logistics but not longings. They share space but not their inner world. And over time, that distance becomes silence. That silence becomes loneliness. And they wonder what went wrong. But the truth is, love didn't leave. They just stopped showing up vulnerably. They stopped saying, I feel hurt. They stopped asking, can we talk? They stopped risking rejection in the name of connection. Vulnerability is also the key to healing. When old wounds are triggered in a relationship, it's tempting to armor up. But the only way to truly move through pain is to name it. To say, this reminds me of something from my past. Or, I'm scared of being abandoned. Or, I don't know how to feel safe right now. When both people can hold space for that kind of honesty, the relationship becomes a place of restoration, not just romance. Being vulnerable doesn't mean dumping every fear or insecurity on your partner. It means being real. It means showing up with your truth while also making space for theirs. It means understanding that strength isn't about never falling. It's about being willing to rise up together. At the end of the day, vulnerability is the doorway to the love we all want, a love that sees us, accepts us, and chooses us, not despite our flaws, but because of our courage to share them. That kind of love doesn't just happen. It's built one honest moment at a time. And the more you embrace vulnerability, the more you realize being open isn't the weak option, it's the bravest choice of all. Emotional regulation creates emotional safety. Without it, relationships become unpredictable, fragile, and filled with unspoken tension. Emotional regulation isn't about suppressing how you feel. It's about learning how to manage your emotions in a way that honors both yourself and the person you love. Because when your emotions control you, they end up controlling the connection too. And no relationship can thrive when one or both people feel unsafe to express themselves without fear of being attacked, blamed, or shut down. We all have emotional reactions. It's human. We get angry, hurt, overwhelmed, disappointed. That's not the problem. The problem is when those emotions leak out in destructive ways. Slamming doors, yelling, passive-aggressive silence, sarcastic jabs, or emotional withdrawal. In those moments, it's not about the situation anymore. It's about power, protection, or punishment. And every time we use our emotions as weapons, we damage the very foundation we're trying to protect: trust. Emotional regulation is the skill that helps you pause before you speak. It's the awareness to notice, I'm triggered right now, and to take a breath instead of launching into blame. It's the strength to say, I need a moment to calm down so I don't say something I'll regret. That pause, however small, can make all the difference. It shifts the direction of the conversation. It transforms what could become a wound into a moment of growth. When you regulate your emotions, you create safety. Your partner knows that even if there's conflict, it won't turn into chaos. They know that their feelings won't be used against them. They know that disagreements won't lead to emotional destruction. And that kind of safety is priceless. It's what allows people to open up, to be honest, to bring their full selves into the relationship without fear. Emotional safety isn't about avoiding hard conversations, it's about navigating them with care. It's being able to say, I'm angry, without attacking. To express pain without guilt tripping. To ask for space without abandoning. Regulation gives you the ability to stay present, even when emotions run high. And in those moments, you're not just protecting your partner, you're protecting the relationship. Regulation also helps you take ownership. Instead of, you make me so mad, you can say, I feel really upset and I want to understand why. Instead of reacting with blame, you respond with curiosity. That shift opens the door for connection instead of conflict. Because beneath most arguments, there's usually fear, insecurity, or unmet needs. When you regulate your emotions, you can actually get to the root of what's going on instead of fighting about symptoms. And it's important to remember that emotional regulation isn't about perfection. You will get it wrong. You will have moments where your emotions get the best of you. But what matters most is what you do next. Do you apologize? Do you reflect? Do you come back and say, that wasn't fair and I want to try again? That's what builds trust. Not never messing up, but owning your impact and choosing better. In relationships, people don't need perfection. They need presence. They need to know that even when emotions rise, love won't leave. Emotional regulation is the practice that makes that possible. It's how we show that we're not just reacting. We're choosing to love, to respect, to protect the connection even when it's hard. And ultimately, emotional safety is what allows relationships to go deep. Because when people feel safe, they let their guard down. They become more honest, more affectionate, more open. And that's when real love happens, not in the absence of emotion, but in the presence of two people who've learned how to hold those emotions with grace. Curiosity keeps love alive. It's easy to believe that once we know someone, really know them, we can stop exploring. But that belief quietly erodes the depth and energy of a relationship. The truth is, people are not static, they evolve. They grow, change, struggle, and surprise even themselves. And when we stop being curious about our partner, we stop truly seeing them. We begin responding to who they used to be instead of who they are now. In the beginning, curiosity comes naturally. You ask questions. You stay up late talking. You want to know everything, their fears, their dreams, their stories, their scars. But over time, the routine sets in. Familiarity replaces fascination. We assume we already know what they're going to say, what they like, what they think. We stop asking and start assuming. That's when disconnection begins. Not because the love is gone, but because the attention is. Curiosity is not just about asking questions. It's about being present with wonder. It's looking at your partner with fresh eyes and asking, who are you becoming? It's choosing to believe there's still more to learn, even if you've been together for years. It's recognizing that your partner's inner world is just as complex today as it was when you first fell in love. Curiosity invites us to keep learning that world, not because we have to, but because we want to. When conflict arises, curiosity becomes a powerful tool for understanding. Instead of jumping to conclusions or defending your point, curiosity says, help me understand why this matters to you. It turns confrontation into conversation. It softens tension. It opens up the possibility that there's more to the story than what's visible on the surface. In those moments, curiosity is not just about the words, it's about the heart behind them. Curiosity also protects against emotional laziness. It keeps the relationship from becoming mechanical. When you're curious, you notice subtle changes. You realize your partner is quieter than usual. You remember the interview they were nervous about. You ask how they're feeling, not just how their day was. Small moments like these build emotional intimacy. They communicate, I see you. I care. I'm still paying attention. One of the most beautiful things about curiosity is that it brings playfulness back into the relationship. When you're curious, you explore together. You try new things. You ask silly questions. You imagine the future. You laugh at things you didn't even notice before. That kind of energy keeps love light. It reminds you that your relationship isn't just about solving problems, it's also about creating joy. And curiosity isn't only for the good times. When your partner is in pain, when they shut down, when they act out of character, curiosity says, what's going on underneath this? It invites compassion instead of criticism. It makes room for nuance. It reminds you that behavior is often just the visible layer of something deeper. By staying curious, you build a relationship where growth is possible because grace is present. Ultimately, curiosity is a posture of humility. It says, I don't know everything about you, and that's what makes loving you a privilege. It keeps us engaged. It keeps us asking. It keeps us connected to the truth that love isn't something you figure out and then leave on autopilot. It's something you keep showing up for, keep discovering, keep choosing. Because love doesn't die from lack of time. It dies from lack of attention. And curiosity is how we offer that attention again and again. It's the daily act of leaning in and saying, I'm still here and I still want to know you. That's how love stays alive. Not through grand gestures, but through the quiet magic of never stopping to learn the person you already call your own. Repair is more powerful than perfection. We often go into relationships hoping that love will be smooth, easy, without friction. That if we choose the right person, everything will just work. But no matter how aligned or in love two people are, conflict is inevitable. Misunderstandings will happen. Words will be said that weren't meant. Silence will stretch longer than it should. And in those moments, what holds the relationship together isn't perfection. It's the willingness to repair. Perfection is a myth that damages real intimacy. It sets an impossible standard that leads to shame and silence. If we believe that strong relationships never struggle, we start hiding when things go wrong. We pretend. We suppress. We build walls instead of bridges. But real connection doesn't come from being flawless. It comes from being honest. From saying, I messed up. I see how that hurt you. I want to make it right. Repair is what builds trust over time. It tells your partner, you can count on me, even when I fail. That consistency is more powerful than a perfect record. Anyone can show up when everything is easy. But when things are hard, when emotions are high, or distance creeps in, choosing to come back, to reconnect, to repair, that's what strengthens the bond. Repair also requires humility. It means letting go of the need to be right. It means listening without interrupting, owning your impact even when your intention was good, saying, I'm sorry, not as a performance, but as a genuine act of accountability. That kind of vulnerability disarms defensiveness. It creates a space where both people feel safe to be human, to be imperfect, to grow. Sometimes we avoid repair because we're afraid it won't be received, or we fear it will make us look weak. But the truth is, avoiding repair creates more damage than the original conflict ever could. It leaves wounds open. It fosters resentment. It teaches your partner that problems are to be ignored instead of addressed. And nothing kills connection faster than emotional distance left untreated. Repair doesn't have to be dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as checking back in after an argument. Saying, that conversation didn't go the way I wanted. Can we try again? Other times, it's reaching for their hand after a long silence, leaving a note, making eye contact and saying, I miss us. Repair isn't about grand apologies, it's about meaningful ones. It's about effort, intention, follow through. What makes repair powerful is that it allows for growth. Each time you come back from conflict, you understand each other a little better. You learn each other's wounds, each other's needs. You practice patience. You strengthen resilience. You teach each other that love is not conditional on behavior, it's rooted in commitment. That's the kind of love that lasts. Not because it avoids struggle, but because it keeps choosing connection in the face of it. Relationships don't end because people argue. They end because people stop trying. They stop repairing. They start believing the story that if we were really right for each other, this wouldn't be so hard. But every deep, lasting connection is shaped not by how few mistakes are made, but by how many are healed. So don't aim for perfection. Aim for presence, for repair. For the bravery to say, I hurt you, and I want to fix it. That's where intimacy is rebuilt. That's where respect is restored. That's where love becomes unshakable, not because it's perfect, but because it knows how to begin again, over and over, together.